right now. Today is the day that you choose to change the rest of your life. It is time to turn your setback into the greatest comeback story ever told, and nobody is more capable than you. Friday! This is the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast, the future #1 weight loss podcast in the world. I am your host, Donato Russo. I hope you enjoy the show today. If this is your first time here and you enjoy the show, please subscribe and spread the word of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast wherever you are and to whomever will listen. If you'd like to connect on social media or wherever else, check out my Linktree page, Linktree/the Ranting Weight Watcher. Let's connect today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 190 of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you to the show. If you enjoy it, please consider subscribing. If the app that you're using to listen to the show allows you to rate the show or leave a review about the show, please consider leaving a 4-star or 5-star rating. Consider writing a review about the show. What you do when you do this is you update the algorithm so that when someone else using the same app as you is looking for a weight loss related podcast, the Ranting Weight Watcher just shows up a little higher on that list, and it enables exposure of the podcast. One of the best things you can do to support the show, though, is tell literally everyone around you who is in the same position we are all in, trying to live a healthy life, trying to get the scale number to drop, trying to be the best version of ourselves. If you know that they have this issue and you know my message can help them, literally take them to the show, show them how to get to it, show them how to listen to it, teach them how to get to me on a weekly basis. Because no one sends anybody faster to this show than one of you guys. If I just say it, I just sound like a salesman trying to sell something. I want to give a special thanks to all of my financial supporters. Thank you so much for your investment in this podcast. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this. Journey updates. I am down this week, down 1 pound. Total loss since January 2019 is 181.2 pounds. So you see, it's just a perfect example of why I say it has to be 3 gains in a row for you to see a trend. Because weight fluctuations happen. They go up, they go down, they go all around, right? And if you make changes and go crazy every single time it goes in a way that you're just going to question yourself over and over and over again. The keys to it all are create consistency in the core values of whatever plan you're following out there. This doesn't have to be WW. It could be anything. Whatever plan you're following, each and every one of those plans has core values. If you learn the core values and just make them as much a part of your life as brushing your teeth is part of your life, you will benefit from creating that type of environment for yourself. That's the key to it all. Create that, and then you can stare 3 gains in the face with no hesitation because you know how often you brush your teeth. You know it. You have your confidence. If anyone ever questioned whether or not you brush your teeth, you would say, hey, no, I do it twice a day, whatever it is. If your journey, if the core values, if tracking your food, if weighing and measuring your food, if getting out and doing some activity all was like brushing your teeth, man, would your life transform. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to be consistent. Perfection is a pipe dream. It's a delusion. It's unattainable and it's unsustainable. Create consistency and be perfectly imperfect. And you will have confidence in what you're doing. And if something goes wrong, you'll be able to pick it all up and keep going. because that's what it takes. Because all of the things that can go wrong will absolutely go wrong. That's just the way it is. When you decide to do something good for yourself, that's when you invite Murphy's Law into your life, and everything that can go wrong will absolutely go wrong. Your ability to continue doing the core values, no matter what day it is, no matter what is going on, no matter what is falling apart, is essential. Life is going to be life no matter what. Shit's going to happen. It's never going to stop happening. It's never going to stop. And you're going to get punched in the face 1,000 times 1,000. You're going to fall and stumble and just be in a mess over and over and over again. It's not about you being in the mess. It's not about preventing the mess. It's about what you do after it. Because your reaction to when you mess up is a bigger problem than messing up. People don't get when I say that, but it's true. You know, sometimes I question my own sanity. I do. I question my own sanity because I believe in my head that it's my job to tell as many people as I possibly can everything I've learned. Part of my, I don't know if you want to call it a calling or whatever you want to call it, but part of my being is breaking people's cycles, stopping them from doing the same thing over and over and over again and wondering why things just don't go right. And no matter how many times I try, I can't. And you know, the funny thing is, I say it all the time. I say, I can't make you do it. But for whatever reason, it doesn't stop me from trying to make you do it. That's where I question my sanity. And sometimes I get even crazier and decide to peruse social media in the fitness genre of the space. So whether that is on Instagram or Facebook or Weight Watchers Connect, I'm always trying to look out for what's going on. What are people thinking? What's going on in their heads? Sometimes I look at these posts and to try and gain some sort of inspiration to talk to you guys about it. Because if somebody is posting about it, chances are there are other people feeling it. But the other day, I was on Weight Watchers Connect. And I rarely do this. I typically go in there and I click on following and I look at all the people I follow, see how they're doing and all that stuff. Like some posts and then I'm out. But rarely I will take a look at the trending section. And once you get past the 1,001 poll questions, once you get past all the other nonsense that's in there, every once in a while you see something that I would want to respond to. So as I was swiping on whatever day this was, I can't remember what day it was. I was swiping and looking at all the posts. I come to a post that asks a question. The person who made the post says, there seems to be a big push for GLP-1 stuff. I want to know how many of you out there lost your weight using the WW program without any help from GLP-1 medications? So I was looking at all the responses after that, looking at the comments and saying, you know, this one said, oh, I lost this much. And it was like just all these people saying it. I didn't want to just be a next one in the sea of a bunch of people saying I lost it without it. So I replied in a different way. I replied by saying, everyone is capable of doing this without GLP-1. The question will always be, are you willing? What separates every single person from everything they want in life is what they are willing to do to achieve it. That was literally my response to this post. Now, because it's a trending post, there are people reading the comments just like me. And so they came to my comment. And the responses to my comment caused me to question why people pay $500 a year. And I'm rounding up or down or what, I don't know what I'm doing. But let's say it's about $500 a year for a system and then have attitudes like this. And it makes me question my sanity because when I see the responses I receive, I start to think, why do I bother? Why do I bother doing this? Why do I bother having a podcast? I have so much time invested at this microphone. And it's not just when I'm physically speaking into it, when I hit record. There's a whole bunch more time. I mean, this part that I'm doing at this moment, it could take an hour. An hour of recording and I'm done. But the editing could take 6 hours. And depending on how crazy I want to be with editing, it could take a little more. So on top of my 40-hour-a-week job, add another 8 to 10 hours of sitting at this same desk because I work from home. I sit in the same chair 40 hours a week. So you add another 10 hours to that. So we're talking about 50 hours a week sitting in this chair at this computer behind this microphone. And when I see responses like I received, it causes me to question, why do I do this? I am clearly surrounded by people who aren't prepared for my message. The overwhelming majority, you know, I already knew this too, going into it. I knew that the majority of people wouldn't be prepared for my message. I essentially told all of Connect that everyone was capable. Every single person was capable of losing the weight they want to lose. The question will be, are they willing to do what's required? And so I'm hit with a barrage of rolling eyes emojis, whatever else, shaking my head, all this other stuff. Somebody saying, who hurt your feelings today? Why are you posting this here? Every single person can have everything they want if they are willing to do the work necessary to achieve it. That's what I said. And I got people rolling their eyes, cracking jokes. This is the mindset you're paying. You're paying $500 a year to have a mindset that scoffs at the truth. And then you wonder why you're yo-yoing your entire life. I really don't get people. Now, don't get me wrong. It took me a bunch of times to get it right myself. But I never bashed anyone else while I was failing. That was the thing. So while I was sitting in my cycles and failing over and over and over again on myself and quitting time after time after time, only to return worse than I was, I wasn't bashing people who were successful, because you can't really say anything to those people. And here they saw a message of truth and decided to crack jokes. There wasn't a single reply under my comment that was positive. Not a single one. So I sat here and I questioned my own sanity after that. These are the people that I invest my time in recording, in editing. I invest my time. These are the people I'm surrounded with. I just don't get it. It makes me wonder what I'm doing. What's the real goal here? In reality, I could just be sitting back and spending my time doing the work I need to do every single day and enjoying my life 180 pounds lighter than I was a little over 5 years ago. I don't have to be inspiring. I don't have to be motivational. I don't have to sit here and wonder what to talk to you guys about every week. But I do it anyway. And yet I could see that I'm surrounded by people like this. When Weight Watchers first purchased the company that meant that they would be giving out GLP-1 medications, I had predicted in 5 to 10 years that over half the people would be on them. So half the members of WW would be on GLP-1s. I don't know if that's going to be true. I don't know if they're ever going to admit it. In reality, the real number might be even more than that. Who knows? I'm not saying it's more than that right now. I'm saying 10 years from now. Who really knows? I do know that we live in a society that seems hell-bent on making sure you are enabled to be your most unhealthy self and to gaslight you into believing that you could actually be healthy and obese. Take you from somebody who was over 400 pounds twice in his life. You're only healthy until you're not. You can sit here and you could pretend a bunch of things when you go to the doctor. You are on a timeline, a ticking clock. And you are only healthy until you're not. And the problem with this world is when you get to that point to when you're not, rather than tell you the truth of the core of your situation, we have a generation of doctors who are being enabled to say, hey, it's genetics, it's biology. That seems to be the new hot word there. Biology. It's your biology. They literally took the playbook from when they all called it about genetics. They changed the word from genetics to biology, and they re-vomited the same message, and they teamed it up with a bunch of drugs. All to enable you to never grasp what it would actually take to achieve what you would want to achieve. Because they know if you do it their way, you're more likely to stay a customer. If you find the way, you might just move on. You might actually achieve everything you wanted to achieve. There are people at their goal weight who have been around for years. And they are faced with certain situations, and you would think that all the years they have experienced, that the situations they face wouldn't faze them. They would be experienced. They would be hardened to the situation. They would know exactly what to do. And yet you could see some of these people panicking like it's their first day. What have you spent the last however many years learning? What's going on here? How is it that you could be panicking like this and be in the position you're in? It's an oxymoron. They don't mix. A seasoned veteran of a sports team is not going to fall apart because of the show that is the championship game. The environment, the atmosphere, that stuff is not going to faze a seasoned veteran. It may faze a rookie because it's their first time. But it would not faze a seasoned veteran. So that's what I'm trying to say here. As how many years veteran that you are doing this, how many years you are at your goal weight, and you're faced with a family gathering, a holiday event, a vacation, and you're panicking like it's your first time. Well, Don, they don't want to gain all their weight back. And even if you did gain weight back, are you telling me that if you went right back to doing life the way you were doing it before your vacation, that the weight would not come off? We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. I now present to you the Ranting Weight Watcher Accountability Creed. If you choose this day to say this creed, you are accountable to me, the author. You are also accountable to all of those before you who have taken the creed, and all of those after you who will take the creed. But most of all, you are accountable to yourself. Now recite with me the Accountability Creed. Nothing can stand in my way because I choose to be unstoppable. My challenges crumble in my presence because I choose strength when I am weak. My insecurities have no power over my life because I choose confidence in the face of fear. I own every last one of my mistakes because I choose growth over mediocrity. The mirror and the scale are powerless because I move forward in spite of the result. Circumstances are not obstacles because I see solutions instead of problems. The demons of my past can no longer torment me because I choose to renew my mind daily. All things are possible as long as I believe, because if God is for me, who can be against me? This is the creed I declare each day. It is about what I do, not what I say. I will learn the work that needs to be done. I will never stop, even when I've won. I will work consistently, no matter the cost. I refuse to believe that all hope is lost. I will work when I want to. I will work when I don't. I will work when they are cheering. I will work when they won't. I will work when it's easy. I will work when it's hard. The atonements that I've made are made with no regard. I will work when it's cold. I will work when it's hot. because choices have consequences, justified or not. When I think I know it all, I will start back at one, because regardless of what I think, the work is never done. And from this moment forward, when times are tough, I choose to believe that I am enough. And we are back. Thanks for sticking with me. The problem is, people aren't consistent on their best day. On whatever they perceive to be their best day, they aren't even consistent on that day in the core values of the plan they have chosen. So they are not confident in what the work they put in. I watch so many people go through cycles over and over and over again. And all I want to do is break the cycle. I want you to see something you didn't see from a different perspective, from an outside perspective. Because how people see their own situations, their own mind gets in the way of it. And those comments are perfect evidence. What I said is not untrue. And what people responded is exactly what holds them in the cycles they're in. Because if you're ever going to break the cycles you're in, it takes a look inward. It takes a moment of clarity where you say, you know what? It's time to get my ass in gear. What am I not doing? I don't do X, Y, and Z. I don't do A, B, and C. And I don't do 1, 2, and 3. And now what am I going to do to fix that? No, people would much rather believe it's their biology, so they can stay right where they are, doing what they've always done. I just don't get it. There has been so much growth in my life since this all began. I started trying to bring my old life into my new life. Oh, I got to eat this. I got to eat that. I don't want to be deprived. And it worked. Just measuring what I used to eat worked. Until it didn't. And at the moment where it stopped, I could have done what everybody does. I could have kept just trying to force it. Instead, I said, well, what can I eat that would be considered healthy where I can replace the majority of these things from my old life, but not all of those things? So that the things from my old life would happen very seldom. So we're talking like once a week instead of once a day. And then that worked. And the scale kept going until it didn't. And then I adapted again. When the scale stopped working, I started with activity. I started small. Just a few minutes in my parking lot. I can manage 15 minutes. I can manage 20 minutes. I can manage 30 minutes. I can manage 45 minutes. I can manage 60 minutes. I got to get out of this parking lot. And minutes turned to miles. I made the transitions. I learned the lessons. Every single time a lesson needed to be learned, what can I honestly tell you started the spark to change? The scale stopped moving. Every single time. What I introduced worked until it didn't work. And each and every time I had to make a change, it took me further and further and further away from my old life. I do so well. I lose 150 pounds. And then I stay stagnant for a year. And I don't recognize that for 10 months, I don't recognize it. And then finally I get my head on straight and realize I'm essentially going in this straight line on the scale for 10 months. And so I make another move. I transitioned my life slowly over 5 years to go from eating my favorite foods from my old life to eating foods that I know my body needed rather than what I was in the mood for. 5 years in the making to make it to that moment. And in the process of getting there, I get hit with a diagnosis. A diagnosis that they tell me can only be managed, can't be cured, and this is the treatment plan. I had done everything the way I should over a slow 5-year transition to transform my life. And what I got as thanks for that is a diagnosis that can only be managed. That's the thanks I got. Thank you so much for making yourself so healthy. Here's your diagnosis. Is that fair? Is it fair to receive that after 5 years of hard work? Is it fair? And yet I still don't quit. It becomes the next quest. The next quest to heal myself with the food I eat. So I went from eating to nourish my body. And that's where I thought the end was going to be. When I chose to eat based on what my body needed rather than what I was in the mood for, I thought that was the end. I did not see any other reason that I would ever leave this method of eating. That this was the final stage. The end of it all. But no. They say, here's your diagnosis. And here's the treatment plan. And I refuse the treatment plan. And say, I will find another way. So I go from eating to nourish my body based on what it needs to eating to nourish my body based on what it needs to heal. And the thanks I get for making that transition is someone tuning into one podcast, hearing me talk about carnivore, and immediately leaving a review that's bad because they say carnivore is not WW. Don't bother listening to this podcast. That's the thanks I get for chasing the next stage of my life. So do you understand why I sit here and question my sanity? Do you understand why I sit here and say, why should I bother? I could walk away right now and leave every single person in their cycles for the rest of their lives and let a doctor diagnose them and let them blame their genetics, their biology, their age. Because that's another thing a doctor is trained to tell you. Well, 60% of people your age have this diagnosis. Does that just mean that 60% of the people are eating the same way and causing it? Is the standard American diet still not going to be questioned for that? That's the thanks I get. That's the thanks I get for transitioning from taking my old life and fitting it into my new life a little over 5 years ago, to eating whatever it takes to heal my body by any means necessary. I never would have chosen this. Can I just say that? I was adamantly against extreme eating. I am adamantly against plant-based eating and adamantly against carnivore-based eating. I'm adamantly against both of them. I never would have chose this life for myself. And yet a diagnosis placed me here. And so I made a choice. And I chose an extreme way of eating and hoped for the best. Am I making progress with this extreme way of eating? Yes. Would I recommend this extreme way of eating to anyone looking to heal themselves? Absolutely. Would I recommend it to anyone else? No. I recommend that you find balance and you eat real food. A proper human diet. You can get your PhD. Proper human diet. If it's part of an animal, beef, lamb, chicken, pork, fish, part of an animal. If it comes from an animal, eggs, milk, cheese. If it comes from the ground, the most pesticide-free version of that. An ideal world would be you growing your own vegetables and fruits, you raising your own meat, and you creating your own milk, cheese, and eggs. That's an ideal world. That is a world where you can live perfectly healthy and never need a doctor for anything. That's what I want the whole world to realize. Because this crap that they tell us is food is not food. It's not. It's empty calories that are all causing one thing and one thing only. It's causing us to gain weight a certain way, get sick a certain way, get treated a certain way, and die a certain way. That's what it is. And if you wanted the majority of the population to be dependent and to create an endless cycle of revenue, what would you teach them? You would teach them that eating this way is the best way, because you know that teaching them that would make them sick and dependent on a system that, and call it healthcare, where you're teaching people how to be sick and stay sick. That's the world we live in right now. Right before I hit record on this podcast, I read an article that said the news reports and articles that have come out with studies that ultra-processed foods are causing obesity are biased, and it's not the case. I read that just before coming on here and hitting record. And that little article is just enough to keep everybody who's eating the ultra-processed foods happy. Oh, look what this says. And they'll hold on to it while they're sick for the rest of their life. We have a man on trial right now, admitting that social distancing guidelines was made up. He knew that masks wouldn't work. All of these things while collecting $700 million in the process. People need to wake up. Wake up and see the world for what it is. And see that you're just a dog on a leash. Wondering why you can't get where you want to go. When you're believing the people holding the leash and think they care about you. You know what's crazy here? What's crazy is people are feeding their pets better than they feed themselves. I'm not lying. People are going out of their way to buy real human-grade food for their pets to make sure their pets live long, healthy lives while they stuff ultra-processed food down their throat and wonder why they get sick all the time. Wonder why they can't get anywhere. What happens when you're not here? Who's feeding your dog human grade food after you're gone? I just don't get people. I don't. In the events that led me to joining Weight Watchers in January 2019, I found myself at a crossroad. The choice was go left, get a revision surgery, and essentially take myself back in time 10 years, and I would be like reliving 2004 all over again. Or go to the right and do everything the extremely hard way and have no idea how long it would take. In this moment, I could have gone to the left. I had already done it. I knew exactly what to expect. If anything, making this decision again should have been easier. Just because the first time it wasn't that bad. But instead, I looked within. And I asked myself, can you guarantee you'll learn the lessons required this time? Can you guarantee the events won't happen exactly the same way as they did the first time? Can you guarantee a different outcome? The answer was no. I couldn't guarantee a damn thing. All this time I talk about being in cycles. I tell you, you guys have to break the cycle. I tell you that all the time. Every cycle you're in starts in a place just like this. You're at a crossroad. And you could see that the path to the left is prettier. It's well manicured. It just looks like a more pleasant place to walk. And the pathway to the right is rough. It's a hard road. And it looks kind of scary. It's a little dreary, dark. It's not manicured whatsoever. You could trip, fall, whatever. It's all obvious just by at the entrance alone. And so naturally, given this choice, so many people keep going to the left. The problem is the left makes you believe you're on a journey. And in reality, it's just a really large circle. You think you're on a pathway, but the circle is so large that by the time you come to the crossroads again, you've been away from it for so long that you think it's a new crossroad. But it's the exact same one that started the cycle in the first place. So this is where I tell you it's time to take a long, hard look within. How many times have you actually been at this crossroad? How many times have you believed the crossroad you're at is completely different? And how many times have you chosen to go around in circles? At some point, you need to realize every time you're going through this, it was because you decided to. You essentially made the choice to go to the left, go around the big circle, and come back to the same crossroad. But you told yourself at the crossroad, oh, this time I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to have willpower. I'm motivated. I'm determined. I'm inspired. How many times have you been on that crossroad and said that exact same thing and went the exact same way and did the exact same things over and over and over again? And how many more times do you have to do exactly that before you realize that you're in the position you're in because you keep making the choices that bring you back here? At some point, you need to realize it's time to own it all. That no matter what society tells you, no matter what fancy vocabulary they come up with, it's not genetics, it's not biology, it's you. At some point, it actually is you. And your choice to choose the rough, dreary, scary, hard road, the one where you can fall flat on your face over and over and over again, until you make that decision to go in that way, until you actually grasp that you might actually have to live an uncomfortable life and not eat the things that have been causing these cycles over and over and over again, until you realize that, you'll never get to where you want to go, no matter how many times you try. And you know what? If you want to own that, if you want to accept that life and stay in the circle because it's pretty, that's fine. Go. But don't tell the whole world you can't. Start using the real words. Start saying the truth. Tell them you won't. Because you've been here 1,000 times and you've chosen your way 1,000 times. Own it. Tell the world you won't do it. And move on with your life. Because there is no I can't. But there's plenty of I won't. No one can do this for you. This is all up to you, always will be, and always has been. Do the work and get to where you want to be. It is that simple. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.